8:04, good morning. Glad you're here on KCMO. We are happy to welcome on and say hello to our good friend Steve Moore. He, of course, worked for Donald Trump as an economic advisor during his first term. He is now the founder of Unleash Prosperity, and you should be signing up for their newsletter. If you're not already signed up for Unleash Prosperity, you see him on Fox News and Fox Business all the time. And, Steve, let's just start here. The beef between the president and Jerome Powell on interest rates. Tell me, right. Which side of this boxing match you're taking.
Well, it's an interesting story because what happened was that, the Fed is supposed to be politically independent and divorced from politics, but Jerome Powell is probably the most, more politicized the Fed more than any other Fed chairman probably in history. And so do you remember right before the election, about a month before the election, the Fed started cutting interest rates? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
They I think they cut 2 or 3 times, I think by 75 basis points. And everyone knows that was just a way to try to prime the economy to help Kamala Harris get elected because Jerome Powell hates Trump. And so he's trying to keep him out of the White House. Well, that failed. And by the way, there was no we still had a lot of inflation under Biden. So there was no possible rationale for why you would lower rates when you still had inflation running at 3 or 4%. So then Trump comes in, and all of a sudden the inflation rate falls, and we're probably about 2.5% inflation right now, depending on what measure you want to look at. And Powell decided yesterday he would not lower rates. Now, I'm kind of on the fence on this, whether we should be lowering rates right now or not. I mean, given what's going on in the Middle East right now and the higher oil prices and so on, I'm still a little bit worried about inflation because of the international turmoil that's going on. But you could make a case either way. You really could. Trump wanted lower rates, and most of my friends say we should probably lower rates. I would have been fine with lowering rates by maybe 0.25 percentage point or 0.5 percentage point. But Powell basically said, no, I'm not going to do it because of tariffs. And what he was really saying is, I'm not going to do it because I hate Trump. And so you've got a situation now where the Fed is lowering rates when the Democrats are in office, and raising them or keeping them high when the Republicans are in. And a lot of us are complaining about that, saying that's not fair. And well, it's just mixing politics with monetary policy.
Is it possible that two things are true at once here? Jay Powell, the Fed chair, is being political in his decision, but it may be the right decision because we're still not down to 2% inflation, which is where the Fed wants to be. And that's where I'm at.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you. You did a better job summarizing that than I did. Look, we don't need that. We don't even need a Federal Reserve Board. All we need to do is just have a price rule. Why do you have a currency in the first place? What is the value of a currency? We all learned that in our Economics 100. It's to retain value and to be a medium of exchange. And we've been blessed in the United States because the world reserve currency. That's a huge advantage we have over every other country. All transactions globally are done in dollars. Everybody's holding on to these pieces of paper. And so that's like an interest-free loan the rest of the world makes to the United States. And so we obviously want to keep the dollar as good as gold, as my friend Steve Forbes would say. Steve Forbes wants to link back to the gold price, and I'd be in favor of anything but having these guys make up the rules as they go along. And remember, Jerome Powell will go down in history as being one of the greatest failures in the Federal Reserve Board. He's the one who let prices rise by almost 30% in 4 years under Joe Biden's presidency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. He was definitely late, and the too late Jerome, or whatever Trump calls him, is fairly accurate. Right. You're right about that. So take me through. We're still figuring out the big, beautiful bill. It's right now sitting on the Senate side, but there's this weird deal going on where you have Republicans like one of our own, Josh Hawley here in Missouri, who's insistent that we don't touch Medicaid, despite the fact that there is a lot of corruption and wasteful spending around Medicaid. So how do you see this? Because this appears to be a roadblock in the Senate right now amongst Republicans.
So, you've got Josh Hawley there in Missouri who's saying don't cut Medicaid, and we're not cutting Medicaid. Let me shout this from the rooftops. We are not cutting Medicaid. Medicaid is expected to double over the next 20 years in cost. In just the last 5 or 6 years, it's grown by 50%. It's the fastest growing program in the budget, number one. Number two, according to the government's own auditors, this isn't me or Elon Musk. This is the government's own auditing agencies that tell us that last year, 100. Are you ready for this? Are you sitting down, Pete?
I'm always sitting talking to you, Steve. All right, so give me the juice here.
100. I mean, this number is jaw dropping. 150 billion, not 150 million. 150 billion dollars was stolen from Medicaid by fraudsters, people who are not eligible for the program are collecting it. So this it tries to stop the fraud. In other words, saying if you're an illegal immigrant or something like that and you're not eligible for the program, it also says, look, if you're able-bodied, if you're of working age and you're able to work and you're not working, then we're not going to give you the benefits. Now, you should either be in a job training program or in a job. If you're just sitting on your butt watching TV or playing video games all day, sorry, you're not going to get free food stamps. You're not going to get, free health care from the taxpayers. I mean, it's just not fair. So what's wrong with that?
I'm with you. Steve Moore, former economic advisor to President Trump, is here.
By the way, Pete,
yeah.
Let me just say something. It's not just you who are with, I'm glad you are, but about 70% of Americans agree with that.
Yeah.
Polls show overwhelmingly Americans believe that if somebody's getting a welfare benefit, they should be, and they can work, they should be working. There's 7 million jobs open in America.
So what about this fear then that Hawley and others are noting, saying that this is going to defund rural hospitals?
I'm not an expert on that. I've heard that argument too. I'm not, I don't think that's the problem. I don't think the solution to the rural hospital program is to allow illegal immigrants to get welfare benefits. Let's put it like that. Yeah. I mean, there must be a better solution to the problem of rural hospitals than saying people are not eligible. And by the way, I was on CNN a few weeks ago when we were talking about that. And, how cruel Republicans are. They want to, stop these people from getting, health care, and pregnant women won't be able to get, prenatal care and all this stuff. And I said, wait a minute. If your position is you think 10 million illegal immigrants should be able to get free health care at the cost of the taxpayer, then introduce a bill in Congress. Okay, let's have a debate about that. And of course, none of them want to have a debate on it. They just want people who are not eligible for the program to get the benefits. So, I mean, look, I'm frustrated myself because we don't cut enough spending. Look, that over 10 years, Pete, the baseline budget is for the United States government to spend $85 trillion over the next 10 years. Now, under the Republican budget, that cruel budget that's going to shut down rural hospitals and people are going to go without health care, blah, blah, blah. You know what the number is? Instead of $85 trillion, we're going to spend $83.5 trillion.
Man, that's even worse. That's crazy. So do you think, Steve Moore, last thing, do you think that Trump will have this big, beautiful bill on his desk by Independence Day, which is what he wants?
I would love to see it. I want to remind your listeners, every time I come on your show, I remind your listeners that failure is not an option here. If we don't get this done by the end of the year, we're facing a $4 trillion tax increase. So it has to get done. Failure is not an option. I'd love to see it done by the 4th of July. Wouldn't that be wonderful on Independence Day for Trump to have a nice bill signing ceremony? But I'm kind of doubtful.
Yeah.
I've been in this town for 35 years. These congressmen are like, they're like, teenagers who wait till the very last minute to do their homework. So I think we're probably looking at Memorial Day, Labor Day, not 4th of July.
I hate to say it, but I think you're right, Steve Moore. We always appreciate your time, my friend. Have an awesome weekend.
Yeah, look, people should call Josh Hawley and say, come on, get with the program. We're not cutting Medicaid benefits. We need a yes vote from him. And, I think he's grandstanding a little bit on this and saying, we got to let all the illegal immigrants get these welfare benefits. I'm pro-immigrant, but they shouldn't be coming into the country and getting all these free services from the taxpayers. We're losing $2 trillion a year.
Wow. Yeah. From your lips, my man. Thank you, Steve.
Have a great weekend, my friend.
There you go. Steve Moore. You see him on Fox News all the time. He is a former economic advisor to President Trump. Now he is the founder of Unleash Prosperity. Good stuff there to him.